Good evening. My name is Ben Tuttle. I live in North Gorham, and I'm one of the founding members of the Gorham Watchdogs. I live at 34 North Street, just out past Finney Lumber. I have two kids that graduated from Gorham High School. Kenny Tuttle, who graduated in 2015, was the youngest keynote speaker at the age of 24 at the Gorham High School commencement 2022. Sarah Tuttle, who graduated in 2020, will be receiving her master's in athletic training this coming Saturday. In my opinion, it was Sarah's class of 2020, that school year, that was the beginning of the obvious downfall in education. And the state of Maine has the test scores to prove it, falling from 19th to 43rd in the country. So congrats, Gorham, Maine, you're the best of the worst. The yearly school budget increases show an enormous commitment to irrational persistence, year after year after year. Doing the same thing year after year and expecting different results is insanity. Budget goes up and the test scores are going down. My question to the Gorham School Committee is, can you please show me where this has worked before? And don't bother telling me about your 30-cent mill rate increase. It's like putting lipstick on a pig, and this is a very fat pig. The Maine Board of Education, the bureaucrats, and the special interest groups that fund it exist for one reason only: to protect and enrich itself. For those who control the powers and levers of power in Augusta, and for the educational activists that partner with these people, and they don't have your values in mind, our campaign represents a true existential threat they have not seen before. This is not just another town council meeting or a school budget vote on a referendum or simple policy debate. This is a crossroads in the history of our great state. The same establishment that's currently trying to stop us is the same group responsible for the misguided policies that have weakened discipline in the schools, pushed controversial ideologies in the classroom, and undermine the role of parents in education. They've devalued the trades, they've erased local history, and put bureaucracy over basic learning. For them, this is a war, and nothing at all is out of bounds. This is a fight for the survival of our town. Believe me, this will determine whether the state of Maine has freedom and local control, or whether we're left with only the illusion of democracy, while a handful of bureaucrats and special interest groups rig the system.
Mr. Tuttle?
And it is rigged.
Mr. Tuttle, could you finish up your comment?
That's it, folks. They know it, you know it, I know it, and pretty much every parent in the country knows it. Anyone who challenges their control is deemed a sexist,
Mr.
a
Tuttle,
racist,
can
a
you please finish?
xenophobe, and a morally deformed person. The corruption runs deep, deeper than you can imagine. In our great state of Maine and across much of the country, we stand at a moment of reckoning.
Mr. Tuttle, you've had enough time.
Augusta's
Mr. Tuttle,
network of
please sit
special
down.
interest
Mr.
personnel
Tuttle.
reside all around us.
Mr. Tuttle,
They hop
please sit down.
they hop around Portland and Gorham, exercising their influence.
Please sit down.
And they are the single biggest obstacle
public
restoring
comments.
educational integrity,
Can
local
you-
choice, and common sense in our schools. But the central base of the Board of Education's political power is right here in Gorham.
All right, I'm going to have a recess.
That?
We're going to go into recess,
Oh,
please.
I didn't know that. Well, okay, I can't finish? I'm asking for a no.
Go ahead.
Okay. My name is Nikki Hudson. I live on Villagewood Circle here in town, and I have 2 Village Elementary students. So first of all, I'd like to thank the Town Council and School Committee for recording and sharing the budget workshops. I had the best of intentions to make it to those meetings, but things get in the way, and it was really great to be able to watch the next day to keep up with what the budget process looked like over the last few months. I'm here tonight to speak in support of the school budget that you all are voting on this evening. Sometimes I think there's a misconception about what kids are learning in our schools. I thought it would be helpful to share some of the things that my kids have learned so far. They've learned how to read and how to find a book that's just right for them. My kids have very different learning styles and interests, but they always find something in their school or classroom library for them. One brings home nonfiction books about different animals, and the other brings home historical fiction, biographies, and all sorts of things about their favorite athletes. They've learned their multiplication tables. They've learned to write in cursive and are practicing their fancy signatures. They've learned what it means to be a good friend and a positive member of a classroom community. They've learned about the water cycle, they've learned about weather, and they've learned about it from meteorologist Todd Guttner himself. They've created mini golf courses using angles and geometric thinking. They've learned to play the recorder, which if you haven't experienced it yet as a parent, is a gift for the whole family. They've learned to code. They've learned that their friends in class may have different experiences and that that's kind of cool and interesting. They've learned what prefixes, suffixes, and root words are and can apply that knowledge when they see an unfamiliar word. They've learned about the ocean, ecosystems, and our changing environment. They've learned how to show their math processes in different ways and explain what works best for them when they're solving a problem. They've learned about writing books from their favorite authors. This year they got to hear from Matt Tavares himself as well. They've learned about their changing bodies. They've learned about the American Revolution. They've learned about AI and how to spot it in media. They've learned to perform in front of a crowd at a chorus concert or a school-wide assembly. They've learned how to ask for help and how to offer support to others. And they've learned so many things that will continue to help them develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills. My elementary kids spend their days figuring out what it's like to be a learner. They're figuring out what interests them and what doesn't. They get to experience what it feels like to be a part of a community and how to be a compassionate friend. Every day may not be their favorite, and they're learning about that experience as well. I'm so thankful that these are the things that they've learned so far in the Gorham schools. The budget in front of you isn't a request for new or expensive initiatives, it's a needs-based budget. It's an investment in our students, teachers, and staff, and I believe it's also an investment in the Gorham community.
Thank you.
You ready? Good evening, Kelly DeVoe, 5 Herrick Road. I just want to take a moment and say thank you, particularly to these town councilors. I was attending every single one of those workshops with you when the budget process started back in October, and I know that you gave up a lot of time to fully understand both the needs and the challenges that the school district is facing, but you also worked to make sure that you were providing some insight and some guidance, and really a true spirit of collaboration emerged from that. I do believe the Fiscal Sustainability Committee that Chairwoman Phillips made sure happened was a catalyst for that. I also think we need to acknowledge the school committee and their incredibly hard work. For those who have not attended the meetings or have not watched the videos, I would encourage you to do so. It's important to know what it is that you're criticizing and to understand how much they went through line by line, the cuts that they did make, the considerations that they made. You should be proud of yourselves. You worked very, very hard, and thank you on behalf of the many Gorham citizens who truly appreciate that. Additionally, I just want to add on a personal note that I do not agree that the class of 2020 was the last and best that Gorham has seen. I spent Saturday at the college graduation of my firstborn, who was a PATHS student. He went to the CTE program at PATHS and graduated with his 4-year degree in audio engineering. I'm very proud of him, but I'm also incredibly proud of the Gorham School Department, who took my child, who had a little extra need in his learning plan, and made sure that he was successful. I completely rest his success on the Gorham school system and the people who supported him. Equally, my sophomore son is thriving, socially more than anything else, I think, sometimes. And I just want to say that my freshman daughter just yesterday had an interview with the head of medical ethics at Maine Medical Center as part of her freshman research project, where she's researching AI and its positive and negative impacts on medicine. That's a pretty cool project, and I don't think that's failing anybody. Thank you. I expect a yes vote tonight, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public wish to speak? All right, seeing no one, the public hearing is closed.
Proposed Order 2552, ordered that the following school budget items be adopted and approved for the fiscal year 2025-2026. That $24,695,766 be authorized to be expended for regular instruction. That $10,783,098 be authorized to be expended for special education. That $0 be authorized to be expended for career and technical education. That $1,154,748 be authorized to be expended for other instruction. That $4,626,572 be authorized to be expended for student and staff support. That $1,645,886 be authorized to be expended for system administration. That $2,850,473 be authorized to be expended for school administration. That $3,103,579 be authorized to be expended for transportation and buses. That $5,136,692 be authorized to be expended for facilities maintenance. That $3,150,238 be authorized to be expended for debt services and other commitments, and that $0 be authorized to be expended for all other expenditures. Be it further ordered that $57,147,052 appropriated for the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, and that $15,442,658 be raised as the municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, in accordance with the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 28, Section 15688. 2, that $2,094,663 be raised and appropriated for annual payments on debt service previously approved by the municipality's legislative body for non-state funded school construction projects, non-state funded portions of school construction projects in addition to the funds appropriated as the local share of the municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12. Be it further ordered that the school committee be authorized to expend $57,147,052 for fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025 and ending June 30th, 2026 from the municipality's contribution to the total cost of funding public education from kindergarten to grade 12, as described in the Essential Programs and Services Funding Act, non-state funding school construction projects, additional local funds for school purposes under the Maine Revised Statutes, Title 20A, Section 15690, expenditure balances, tuition receipts, state subsidy, and other receipts for the support of schools. Be it further ordered that the town will appropriate $397,015 for adult education and raise $237,983 as the local share, with authorization to expend any additional, incidental, or miscellaneous receipts in the interest for the well-being of the adult education program. Ordered that $11,769,875 be raised and appropriated in additional local funds, which exceeds the state's essential programs and service allocation model by $11,769,875, as required to fund the budget recommended by the school committee. The school committee recommends $11,769,875 for additional local funds and gives the following reasons for exceeding the state's essential programs and service funding model by $11,769,875. The state's funding model does not support all of the cost of the schools because it includes only those costs considered essential by the state essential program and services model.
Thank you for reading that, Lori. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right. We'll turn this over to Chair Perkins and Superintendent Perry.
You dive right in.
All right. Well, we've recently participated in a joint workshop with the town council. Certainly, if there are additional questions here tonight, we'd love to hear from them. I do want to clarify one aspect that keeps tripping people up when they look at our proposed budget, and that is the $0 towards CTE. Please know that we absolutely 100% support CTE programs for our students. In fact, we send students both to Westbrook Regional Vocational Center and Portland Arts and Technology High School. And in fact, we actually maximize our seats there. We have no seats left. Every year we maximize the seats we have available to us. The reason that's a $0 figure is because EPS changed about 3 years ago. The Essential Programs and Services funding model for the state changed about 3 or 4 years ago, where they now directly fund the CTE program as a school. So it used to be that the CTE funds would come to us as a sending school, and then we would have to pay a bill to WRVC or PASS. That's no longer the case. Now the funds go directly from the state to the CTE, which is why that dollar figure is $0. That doesn't mean that we don't support it. We absolutely do. So I just wanted to clarify that particular misconception because I've heard it repeated in the community. But otherwise, open to questions, concerns. I do think that this budget was very well done in terms of collaboration with the town council. I really appreciate the time that was spent, the communication that was there. And I also appreciate certainly the school committee for the work that they did if you watch all those meetings and budget reviews. I think that the total budget represents what we need for the coming year. And there's not a lot of extras in there. And I think that probably my hope is that through questions and comments tonight, you can get anything answered that you want to hear about, and we can move forward with an approved budget that can go to the voters on June 10th.
Could you just clarify, I know that everything that was read says kindergarten through grade 12, but could you clarify that it does include pre-K?
That was a wonderful question, thank you, and it was a great question in the public as well. So yes, it is pre-K through grade 12, and so perhaps that's something we might want to consider in the language moving forward, but the pre-K program, this is our second year of operating a pre-K program in the Gorham schools. We do have 64 pre-K students that we serve on site. We actually serve a total of 86 pre-K students with 2 private partners as well. So we're going to grow that to 126 for next year. So we'll be serving 126 pre-K students in FY26.
And that is offset, that cost is offset.
Thank you. That is fully offset by the state in subsidy. So the state actually, when you look at our EPS funding formula, the monies for those additional slots are already in the subsidy formula from the state, and those pre-K students are paid at 100%.
Any questions for Heather or Chair Perkins? Any comments? I do have one question. So I know when we talked at our workshop, we talked about the teacher negotiation for their contracts was ongoing. Is that?
It is technically still ongoing. We have it on the school committee agenda for tomorrow night to approve and ratify, we hope. But until then, it's still unfortunately confidential information. I can't share it at this point.
Okay, so.
But I will be able to share it tomorrow night.
Okay, so
The
that's.
dollar amounts required are represented in the budget
Okay.
as proposed.
Yes, everything's within the budget, yeah.
Okay, so if for some reason that's not the amount that you put in the budget and it's a different amount tomorrow night or something like that, then what we voted on is what goes to the voters.
What you vote on tonight is what goes to the voters on June 10th, yes.
Okay. Any other questions? Go ahead.
I guess just to clarify that, so what if the line item that gets posted tomorrow night is less than what's in the budget? How does that work?
Then probably what likely happen is those funds would not be expended in FY '26 and would roll into undesignated fund balances and would be used in the future to offset taxpayer expense.
I will just share that the GTA has ratified on their side, and the recommendation from those in the negotiating team, myself among them, will be to approve as recommended.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Yes. If you could please just talk briefly about the 10-school pool and how we compare ourselves to neighbors.
Certainly. It's actually the 14-school pool at this point. We've increased it. We now look at all school systems in Cumberland County, and we compare ourselves to those schools in Cumberland County. There are 14 of them. What we try to do in our school committee conversations is to look at trying to be in the middle of those comparisons. We know we are not Cape Elizabeth, we are not Falmouth, but we also don't want to be at the bottom of those comparisons either. We want to be regionally competitive for salaries, benefits, all kinds of different things. We even look at comparisons for the achievement and graduation rates and all that stuff for those 14 schools. And so we always want to try to be, well, for graduation rates, we want to be at the top, and we typically are. But for a lot of the other things, for like salary and benefits, we want to be in that middle slot, somewhere between that 5 and 8 or 6, 7 spot.
Thank you.
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, more of a comment. I just wanted to say this is my third budget vote, third year on the council, and I got to say this year's experience has been the best by far. Not to belittle previous school boards or committees, but the transparency, the collaboration, a lot of hours, a lot of meetings. But I feel the best about making this decision because of the process and learning how everything was left on the table. You know, nothing was, we knew all of the information going forward. So I want to thank the school committee for that.
Councilor Sims, go ahead.
Yeah, I did a couple of questions. Just, people can watch the prior meetings. As Councilor LaVoy said, we've had a lot of meetings. We've spent a lot of time here, asked a lot of questions. I don't mean to repeat things that we've said before, but so we were talking about we've got our 13 neighboring schools here in Cumberland County. My understanding is that we are at the bottom of that pack, except for one. We're 13 out of 14. Is that correct?
Yes.
In per pupil investment in our students. And now previously, that hasn't always been the case. That ranking has been different for Gorham in the not too distant past. Could you elaborate on that for a moment?
Well, we were actually lower. So in the past, we have either been number 1 or number 2 in the lowest per pupil spending in Cumberland County. Now, some of that comparison was done as a 10-school pool, which was only 10 schools at the time, but now it's 14, and we are the second lowest per pupil expenditures in Cumberland County.
Okay, thank you.
May I?
Yep.
And while we're in those weeds, as far as the efficiency of what we spend on our students, where do we rank? We rank.
Well, there's different categories to look at. Are you referring to some of the information that I shared at the joint workshop?
I think perhaps the EPS funding formula and how well we take it.
Yes.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
We are the highest subsidy receiver in Cumberland County. A great deal of that has to do with our valuation, our property values, but also a large amount of that has to do with the fact that we stay within the ratios that are defined in the EPS funding formula. So for example, in the EPS funding formula, it says that it will fund 1 teacher for every 17 elementary students. And when you look at that, they actually do a calculation of the percent that you're hitting that mark, and we're at 95% of hitting those marks. Every other school, the next closest to us is at 89% in Cumberland County. So we really do a nice job of hitting those efficiency marks as defined by the Essential Programs and Services funding model of the state.
And you're also talking about the administration.
Yes, the administration, when we look at administration, when we compare our numbers to per pupil numbers with administration, we are number 5 in 14.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Counselor Sims.
Thank you. So my understanding through the meetings, there's more than $2 million of requests that were made of our school administrators that were not included in this budget and/or cut out of the initial version of the budget. Could you just talk a little bit to some of the things that we have made the hard choices to not include in this budget?
Yeah, so in terms of some positions that were in FY25 that are no longer there for FY26, we reduced a middle school integration position, which is a full-time position. We reduced a high school technology teacher, which is a full-time position. We also reduced RTI, Ed Tech, educational technician, and half-time teaching counselor at the elementary school were some of the reductions that were made. Those are sort of the big ticket items. In terms of the funding that was requested by the administration that never saw the light of day, by the way, that I just share that because I want the administration to know that I am listening to them when they're asking for requests. It was about $1.7 million that didn't make it into the initial budget proposal for FY26. Things that were in that proposal were things like additional staffing for special education, additional staffing for some of our guidance and social worker supports. There were some additional requests that we were able to sort of compromise on in the budget for a behavior consultant. So we were able to add a behavior consultant where the budget requested a little bit more than that originally from the administration. So those are some examples. Certainly, if you want, there's a whole list in your budget booklet, in the Town Council budget booklet that you can view. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Willis, go ahead.
I'm just hoping either Superintendent Perry or maybe one of the other counselors, the words Fiscal Sustainability Committee have been mentioned a number of times tonight. I think it would be a good time to just sort of explain to anybody in the room or watching on TV what that is. And for me, that's had a major impact on how we arrived where we are today.
Yeah, certainly. Well, it's fresh in our minds because we just had a meeting last night of the group. That was actually the last meeting of the Fiscal Sustainability Committee as it currently exists. That group was put together jointly between the Town Council and the School Committee. So the Town Council voted to create the Fiscal Sustainability Committee, as did the School Committee. We had certain members, stakeholders that each of our groups appointed to that group. The major focus was to really look at our fiscal environment, where we're at right now, and to take a close look at where we think we're going, and to really think about what do we need to do in order to sustain sustainable growth in the community of Gorham, and make recommendations to both the Town Council and the School Committee about increases in revenues that maybe can help with that. Also make recommendations to the Town Council and School Committee about perhaps some recommendations in the form of expenditure reductions, if there were any to look at. And then there was also a third component of that work, which was to recommend to the Town Council and School Committee ways that we can improve our communication, not just within the town and the school, but also with the community as a whole. And so those were kind of the three big charges of the group. And the group just wrapped up last night with we've got a draft final report, which we're going to finalize over email. And certainly we have some really great recommendations in there. I don't know if Ephraim, if you want to chat at all about any of the work that was done there, because that's been a lot of work on your part as well.
You're doing a phenomenal job. But I think the goal would be that the school committee and the council would see that probably later in the summer.
Yes.
And then maybe a joint workshop, something like that. We haven't figured out the details yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the goals is to continue the work with a smaller committee moving forward. That'll continue to include some staff and some council representation and some school committee representation, as well as community representation, which I think was my experience being on the committee, having the additional perspectives of different community members was very helpful. And I think it just helped the whole process be just a more well-informed, collaborative process. And I think we demonstrated that when the town council and the school committee work together, we can accomplish a lot. And there's still a whole bunch of work to do. We can do a whole lot more. We can find more savings. We can collaborate on capital investments. Each of our entities can enact policies to, generate additional revenues, and so that we can actually invest in a more prosperous community here. So that's some really encouraging work, and it's far from done, but I think we've gotten on to, good progress, and we're on the right track, I think.
Thank you. Heather, a couple questions. If you could speak to the status of the school building application, just for the public's knowledge.
Absolutely. So back, I can't remember, it was in the fall, it was in August, actually, that we submitted 2 capital applications to the state of Maine for hopeful approval of 2 capital projects. One for the Gorham High School, replacement of Gorham High School. The other for the replacement of both Narragansett and Village in a combined consolidated school. That's kind of the vision for what we've been working towards here in the school committee level. So those applications were submitted in the fall. It was actually August. The state has gone through their process. They actually go and do site visits. There were 96 applications across the state that were submitted for capital improvement projects. They've done their process. At this point in time, we're now waiting for the ranking. So what they do is they go through a process with all 96 of the applications, and they rank them from the highest priority need to the lowest priority need based on a whole system that's ingrained in statute and everything. And we should hear back on those 2 applications and where we're ranking in the middle of July.
Okay. And then do you have any, I mean, this might change day to day, but any of the state and federal issues affecting the school budget or school funds?
Currently, no. We are anticipating that perhaps Title II funds might be a little questionable for FY26. That's about $80,000 for the Gorham schools. We do have a plan to address that if that's the case, but we have not been notified of any reductions at this point.
Okay. Thank you. And I think I mean, you probably know the answer as well, but I think I'm going to ask the town manager just to speak to a couple of the items that we've moved from, I mean, I say moved, but that we've decided to do for the school. If you could speak to those.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think as the council is aware, but for the public, I think part of the theme this year was try to look at the big picture and how can we work together to address common funding issues in reducing the tax burden. So this year, the school resource officers, they're remaining as is, but they're being moved into the town budget. I think we reduced basically the rent, and it was to pay for utilities, cleaning, operation of this facility from $90,000 to $25,000. And we picked up some capital projects. I think, as most people are aware, we're going to be doing about $200,000 of work on the tennis courts at the high school, maybe a $20,000 in renovations to the building for the school department. And then there's probably another $150,000, $170,000 of incidental around the high school, but part of TIF sidewalk construction improvements. So again, trying to look at the whole picture, where can we focus our efforts to pick away at projects on the town side. I probably missed something. That's about 500, just the capital projects and the operating expenditures, $560-ish thousand on the town side. Not to say maybe we can do stuff like that every year. My gut tells me that it's going to be project dependent moving forward. Maybe not as much operational, but we'll try to look at capital projects holistically throughout the town.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Councilor Siegel.
Thank you very much, Chair Phillips, from way down here. So I want to kind of echo Councilor Lavoie's points. This is also my 3rd budget cycle, and I've definitely seen this budget feels kind of the best yet in terms of communication. And also I'm seeing the culmination of many years of conversation of, we know this impact is coming, we have to prepare for it, in terms of the free and reduced lunch forms, the amount of work that went into that was a huge boon to our budget this year, as well as the region-wide work you're doing with just looking at the Greater Sebago Education Alliance in terms of small offsets to our budget, as well as preparing for CDS as more of those responsibilities come into us. So I can really see that you're kind of preparing, or at least, and then recognizing that we need to just keep this work going, and this is definitely a great end result. And I can see a lot of the increases this year. I know you brought up like transportation, and just having to pay contracted services rather than just close off bus routes, which is, that's just a very obnoxious cost, like one that is kind of outside of our control. And I know every time I drive by that bus at Cherry Hill advertising, please, if anyone's listening and you want to be a bus driver, please apply. Yeah, as well as I know that the retirement in the central office is causing a lot of shakeup as well there. So I'm glad to see this work being done. I'm hoping that we can, continue this way. And I also, this other counselors have said this as well, but to Manager Parashak, like a year ago, you were kind of given the council said, all right, move forward, work with the school department as best you can, and you've done that, I think, really, really well. I see other districts, whether it be RSUs or just single districts, they're in much more contentious positions with the town and the school, and I'm just really pleased with your leadership as well in making these changes happen. So thank you for that work. That's all the good stuff. Now, the thing that continues to concern me, and I said this during the workshop, and so I'm sorry I'm repeating myself, but it's the debt service, the bonds every year. My concern is this budget comes in and you all say this is exactly what we need, and then I always get concerned with bonds when it says, oh, maybe we can push this into it or push this into it, and I think we need to be really, really cautious. Especially with, the way the voters vote on the bonds, showing that to really push for the minimums of what we need, because it is just really kicking the can to next year's budget conversation every time we approve a large bond. All right, that's all my notes. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Go ahead.
I'd wrap up my questions with a couple comments.
Okay.
I also want to thank our town manager and the superintendent. This is my first time through the budget process. I learned a ton, and I really was inspired by the way that you guys work together, and also our chairs, that the chair of the school committee and the chair of the council spent a lot of time together in some of those shared conversations, and I think there's a really good synergy right now between the council and the school committee, so we hope that continues. I thank the school committee for their work. You have a very difficult job. I watched every single one of your workshops. I saw when people wanted to add services and looking at the costs that go with that. I know how challenging that is to try to make those decisions while putting forth a budget that makes sense for our taxpayers in our town. So thank you for the work that you've done. I hope that this can continue. I understand this is a challenging conversation in our town, and the conversation for next year really starts next month. That this is something that goes on all year. So I would encourage anybody who is passionate on this, and there's lots of people, to start reaching out as soon as this budget season wraps up, because the time for that conversation isn't really tonight. It's in the 11 months leading up to now. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Sims, go ahead.
Yeah, I'd like to make a couple of comments. I second what Councilor Willis said there. I thank the committee for their work. I'm supportive of this budget. I recognize the residents of Gorham who are frustrated that their taxes go up. I feel that the school committee gets a undue burden of blame for that. In my view, the school budget is much more a symptom of the development patterns that we've chosen to support in this town, and we're not unique in what we've supported. And I said that last year too. I feel like I have a better sense of what those issues are and how we might be able to address them. None of them are addressed overnight. I think it's moving in a positive direction on this stuff. On the revenue side, I won't bore everyone with going into the weeds, but just at a high level, a parking lot generates almost zero property tax revenue. A building generates a lot of property tax revenue. If every building we build requires a parking lot 2 or 3 times larger than the building itself, geometry starts to work against us. The council can't change the laws of physics, but we can change our policies that foster different types of development, particularly in and around the village center. So I'm encouraged by how much opportunity we have to improve the current conditions. And again, we're not going to snap our fingers and solve this stuff overnight. There will continue to be challenges. I think I'm happy that we're continuing to value investing in education, and I'm hopeful to continue this work that we're doing and keep moving in the right direction. So thank you all for your work.
Thank you. All right. Any other comments, Heather and Chair Perkins? No? All right. We'll go right to the vote. All those in favor? 6 yeas.
Public hearing number 2, excuse me, on item 2025-5-15. Public hearing on the proposed 2025-2026 fiscal year budget for the town of Gorham, and is very sponsored.
All right. Public hearing number 2 is now open. If anyone would like to speak on this item, we'll again do 4 minutes. All right. Seeing no one, we will close the public hearing.
Proposed Order 2553, ordered that the Gorham Town Council vote to adopt the 2025-2026 fiscal year budget with the following department totals. General Government, $2,971,099. Public Safety, $6,664,883. Public Works Solid Waste, $3,954,478. Health and Welfare and Social Service Agencies, $179,620. Recreation Community Center Cable, $881,185. Libraries and Museums, $690,951. Development, $265,637. Debt and interest, $1,225,600. Capital items, $893,000. Insurance and employee benefits, $5,229,762. Other town services and unclassified, $524,718, making a subtotal of $23,480,933. The Cumberland County property tax of $1,706,086 for a total budget of $25,187.19. And that's non-property tax revenues of $13,888,597. Did I say 25,000? It should have been 25,187,019. Sorry.
That's all right.
Be it further ordered that the education budget as finally approved by the Gorham Town Council and subsequently approved by the voters of the town of Gorham be incorporated into the final municipal budget. And be it further ordered that the town council vote to adopt the capital budget part 2 in the amount of $3,049,209 to be funded from the town's undesignated fund balance. And be it further ordered that all taxes on real estate and personal property shall be due and payable upon approval of this order, and that 1/2 of all real estate and personal property taxes that remain unpaid on November 15th of 2025 shall commence bearing interest on November 18th, 2025. And that the final 1/2 of all real estate and personal property taxes that remain unpaid on May 15th, 2026 shall commence bearing interest on May 19th, 2026 at the interest rate of 7.5% per annum as authorized by Maine law until paid and collected by the tax collector and treasurer are authorized to collect and receive thereof. And be it further ordered that the Gorham Town Council authorizes the finance director to accept prepayment of real and personal property taxes. And be it further ordered that pursuant to Title 36 MRSA, Section 506A, the Gorham Town Council establishes an interest rate of 3.5 to be paid on all real estate and property taxes rebated due to overpayment of taxes. And be it further ordered that pursuant to Title 36 MRSA, Section 906, the Gorham Town Council hereby require and direct that any tax payment received from an individual as payment for any property tax be applied against outstanding or delinquent taxes due on the property in chronological order, beginning with the oldest unpaid tax bill, provided, however, that no such payment shall be applied to any tax for which an abatement application or appeal is pending, unless approved in writing by the taxpayer. This order shall remain in effect until rescinded by the municipal offices. Be it further ordered that in the event that the amount of interest on unpaid taxes is calculated to be less than $1 on a payment date, and the payment instrument is the full amount of unpaid tax, the finance director is authorized to waive imposition of interest.
Thank you for reading that. Is there a motion? All right. Motion by Councilor Lavoie. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Willis. All right. Your turn.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, want to start by thanking the council for going through this process, our town staff that's here, and a surprisingly higher number of the public school committee promised to be here. Appreciate it. Looking at Michelle. Typically, everybody just leaves, and that's why I'm saying that. So it's good to have people here.
Let the record show.
Let the record show. There's some people here. As one member of the public is aware, that was in person in April, the council had a 4 to 5 hour workshop on the municipal budget. This year's overall municipal budget, not the mill rate impact, is up 4.7%. If you subtracted kind of the joint operations between the town and school, we'd be about 3.1%. And as a general rule, that's where I try to shoot for. Some years it's less, some years it's more. The impact on the mill rate is yet to be determined, but we're expecting maybe a reduction of a couple cents on the town side. Not necessarily what our goal was. We're trying to bring in a responsible budget. High-level stuff, again, the council's pretty much aware of. We're rolling in the SROs into our budget. We have 4 firefighter EMT/paramedic positions proposed. The creation of a payroll specialist in the finance department, that is my number one priority. It's not to say that it's more important than any other position, but for the needs of the town, I think it's our number one priority. The elimination of the silver bullet recycling containers at Public Works for a minimum savings of $50,000, likely much more. And a big ticket item that we're purchasing this year, and the public would probably be shocked at the price tag, but $768,000 for mechanical arm totes for recycling and trash collection. That'll be rolled out in calendar year 27, and we'll purchase them going into this year, and that's when the contractor can get up and running. We've talked about it pretty much at length at a variety of committees, but we are using a lot more TIF funds this year. It is not a solution to everything, but we are able to offset a lot of eligible expenditures in the municipal budget, as well as work on capital projects that fit a broader need within the community to try to keep the mill rate in check. And I think that was a goal that we were striving for. They're not unlimited. They are tax dollars, but they come out of the TIF districts. And as we've discussed at length, they help us with our school funding formula, county tax, revenue sharing, all that good stuff. So I'm happy to answer any questions for the council that you may have. And we have a variety of town staff here this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead, Councilor Kush.
Yes, we talked about bus drivers in our previous discussion. Can you speak to the staffing, I guess, needs, if there are any, with Public Works and/or Fire Department and/or Police Department?
Thank you. I'm going to start with easiest and work my way down. So I think, generally speaking, we're at staffing level at Public Works, so there's always a little bit of need there. You know, people come and go, we lose part-timers. Generally speaking, I think we're doing pretty well there. We're almost at full staff in the police department, which is, we're one down. That's the best we've been for a long time. So that's, we're moving up there. The fire department, there's a great need in the area, and I don't think enough people for the system for paramedics, firefighter EMTs, advanced EMTs, as well as call company members, volunteers, you know, people that show up, we compensate them, but that call company force, region-wide and nationwide, has been diminishing over the years. So I think that's a struggle. So fire department is always looking for good help, whether it's full-time, per diem, or call company.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? Yep, go ahead.
One thing that, and we haven't updated the packet that you'll receive, but at your workshop, there was a discrepancy in your capital part 2. So the road budget has been reduced by, I believe, $25,000, and what was left off as the last item was electrical upgrades at the Little Falls Activity Center to accommodate a used generator up there. So just so you're aware, that'll go in the final document. We discussed it at the workshop, but it's not in print right now. I'll give a shout out to former Councilor Hager. Was on our planning board. He caught the typo on the cover sheet. I have, I think, like 5 and 6 swapped. So no one said that to me and noticed it except for Jim. So gold star for Jim, who every year calls me up with a red marker in hand.
So I have a couple questions. If you could just explain for the public, because I know the school department discussed having at their workshop increase in health insurance. Can you just explain on our side how that works, or how much of an increase? we saw?
Thank you. Sharon can have the actual increase, which I think was hefty this year. Can you pull that up? I'm hoping you have that number, because I want to say it was close to 12. It was a rough year for us. So employee, I could be off on that. 12's coming to mind, and I could be confusing with the conversation I had with Heather. Every year, health insurance, I think like all private and public employers in the country, is a struggle. And like many organizations, employee benefits is the bulk of our municipal budget. We're a little different municipalities because we generally have capital budgets wrapped in there, but we have over 100 full-time employees in the municipality, and really, if you count it, hundreds of part-time employees in varying capacities, from mowing lawns to ballot clerks.
I just say that because I received an email, and I don't know if the rest of the council did, just asking about, health insurance and, by a private company and things like that. So I was just curious as it came up, so.
The one where we struggle, I think where a lot of municipalities struggle, is the premium. The town implemented years ago, I did this in past municipalities, where we do a high deductible plan reimbursement. And it's more common than it used to be. So the municipality, we reimburse for the out-of-pocket expenditures for the employee. In any given year, most employees don't use that out-of-pocket maximum, or even close to it. We'll have an employee with substantial health issues, or kids born, or something like that. But it saves us a lot of money by paying the high deductible, low premium premium policies, and that's been pretty successful for us.
Okay. Go ahead, Councilor Siegel.
Thank you, Chair. You mentioned that we don't know the mill rate yet. When will we know, and why don't we know yet?
Yep. Excellent question. So April 1 is the cutoff in municipalities for when you capture valuation for the prior value year. The assessors through Cumberland County still have to tabulate, collect all that data. So we have an estimate, and we are generally pretty conservative. So I give $15 million of new value, or I gave this year to the school department. That's what we used. We'll be above that, but we just don't have the breakdown of that likely until August is when we start really kind of hammering out the mill rate. Into the latest we've ever gone is September. So right now it's an estimate based on conservative values. The mill rate with the county tax, which we include on the town side, would be about 32 cents. But again, it's a very, very rough estimate right now.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I want to make sure I was clear on that. County, school, and town combined, about 32 cents. The town may be a negative slightly, county about 4 cents, and then the school around 30.
And just for clarification, that's how it is every year?
Every year, yeah. So every year we really don't have a firm graph. We have an estimate, but we don't know what the details of the mill rate are going to be until late summer. And the assessor technically sets the mill rate, but it's working with town staff to say, okay, this is what we have to plug in. We carry a little bit of an overlay, so that's if there's property tax abatements that have to be issued, it comes out of that overlay rather than eating into the operating budgets. So a little bit of math that goes into it, but it's pretty common late summer.
And generally, historically, it's just pennies, that it's never anything?
Yeah, I mean, we've had a couple years where it's a little higher than we anticipated, or even a little lower, but it's not 30, 40 cents off or anything like that.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Does anyone have any additions, subtractions, amendments? Oh, you guys are making this easy on me. Okay. Usually there's a laundry list, so.
I will say, And I think where a lot of times the council has traditionally modified items, and I'm not suggesting this necessarily, but is in our capital Part 2 budget. This year, we're anticipating, so that comprises 8.5% of our, I'll probably not get into the weeds on it, 8.5% of the town and schools combined operating budgets is allocated and is set aside, and anything above that in our undesignated fund balance goes towards capital projects. Way in the past has been as low as a couple $100,000. I think the high point we hit was 4-point-something million. I'm anticipating a slight downward trend / being stagnant with that number, but we'll see. But we had some big ticket items. Again, the trash totes, the road budget. As the council's aware, we lost a culvert over the weekend. Just so the public's aware, that culvert, we had full plans to replace it, actually got quotes on it, and we were hoping it would make it till next year. That culvert alone is around $800,000. So when you have a $2 million road budget and one culvert blows out, you can see how the money disappears very quickly. So I think that specific project will be a conversation about maybe a bond package with other road projects, but the $3+ million in capital Part 2 does not go very far.
All right, so on that note, so the road budget you said is, can you just remind me of the amount? Because now
I don't have it memorized. I had it memorized about a month ago. So this year we are funding for TIF eligible road projects.
Yeah.
It's about $1.8 million for total road projects. $430,000, excuse me, of that is for TIF projects. Industrial park paving, which is badly needed. Some projects in the village, which are eligible. Sidewalk repair, some overlays, things like that.
So just for the public, so they know when they look at this list, this is not in order of priority or anything like that. It's just
correct
amounts for consideration.
Yeah, and if the public goes into the town's budget on page 90, there's a list of more pressing projects. This is not the comprehensive list of everything that needs to be done in the town. I will say it repeatedly, the biggest financial liability that the town of Gorham has is road infrastructure. It is not a high school, it is not a municipal center, it's not fire trucks, it is road infrastructure. By far the most expensive item we have to deal with.
160 miles?
150, 160 miles.
Yeah.
Total roads, plus sidewalks.
Yep.
Again, culverts, box culverts, everything in between.
Thank you. Go ahead.
I would just say one thing. You say we're making it easy on you, but for anybody who feels like we're not asking enough questions, I invite you to go back to watch the council workshop with town staff when each town manager came up here and took their time to discuss a lot of these different line items with us. So it's not that we're just getting this and flying it through. We've spent 4 or 5 hours on it earlier in the month, so thank you.
Thank you.
And Sharon was able to pull up 11% on healthcare this year.
Okay.
One of the steeper years we've had. And part of that's our how we did on as far as claims.
And a question, not to rehash what we discussed at the workshop, but just for the public benefit, the example of the relatively large one-time expense for the new trash and recycling bins.
It's coming.
That's a one-time expenditure. Is that accurate to say?
Yes, there'll be obviously maintenance and keeping up with damage and repair, and there's a small contingency built into that purchase. But for 2 totes for every eligible stop in the town of Gorham.
Yeah. And that's a function of, it's not like we really had a lot of choice in that matter. There was really only one viable option presented to us from the RFP, and they required us to do this.
Yes, it's becoming less of an industry standard to have manual, so a person riding on the truck like we do. It's going more mechanical. One goal that we have in the long run is trying to align our contract with other municipalities. It is very difficult to get municipalities to align major capital projects. The other item that we've substantially discussed is we bring in about a little bit more than $600,000 usually of trash tag revenue So when the public pays for the tag, that offsets, it basically pays for the actual collection costs. With a tote system, for the most part, I would say I'm 98% sure that we're not going to go through a revenue stream for that. Some municipalities in the country, I'm sure, have tried it, but we lose that revenue stream. So not this coming fiscal year will be the last time that we'll have that revenue stream coming in. Otherwise, after that, it's absorbed into everyone's tax bill. Right now, it's a pay-to-play system, or pay-to-use.
So I guess to follow up on that, with the extinction of the silver bullets, that's what I like to call it, I just want people to be aware, if that, obviously no one's brought it up, but I'm just thinking right now people can still put curbside recycling, correct?
Yes. So I can give a kind of a high level of that. So we're now in the minority of municipalities that offer the traditional silver bullet locations. Some do, but a lot have gotten rid of them. There are any number of reasons. The top reasons, and the staff can correct me if I'm wrong on any of these, is contamination. You would not believe what people throw in these things. Or, even worse, don't throw in them. Couches, televisions, furniture, you name it, Public Works has fished it out of the bins or picked it up next to the bins. That being said, I know there are a lot of Gorham residents that use it and use it responsibly. We know for a fact there are plenty of non-Gorham residents that use it responsibly and irresponsibly. And within reason, every stop and a lot of eligible small businesses as well, besides residential stops, could just put out curbside recycling, and that's allowed in manageable quantities. Obviously, if you're running a large corporation and you have dumpsters, stuff like that, that's different, but it is a morale drain on Public Works. Some weeks it's great, and other weeks it's just a nightmare, and we haven't recently, but we have paid contamination fees for the dumping of it in the past. It's also not very efficient to transport it. So when you think about it, if you had a full transfer station facility, a lot of towns that have them, we don't, they have compactors, and you get more bang for the buck when you haul it, even short distances. We don't have that. It's very loose. It's very inefficient and very costly for the service that we provide.
Okay. Other questions or comments? All set?
I'd just add I'd point people to, before the budget workshop we had with the school committee last week, we did have a workshop with Greater Portland Council of Governments where they presented a tool that they are developing to help towns understand the impact of developments, different types of development in the town, in different parts of the town. And, one of the takeaways, this is something we've been talking about, it's an opportunity we have, choice we have, in terms of how the budget challenges go moving forward. One of the takeaways that I've, made here from the first year or so on the council, year and a half now, the more we force development further out from our village center, the more expensive everything becomes. The snow removal, the trash collection, the fire safety, the public safety, police, the school buses, all of this stuff. So again, this is another example of an opportunity where we have a choice to change the trajectory of our budget challenges moving forward. And that's one of those value decisions we have to make as a council and as a community. But I'm very supportive of the budget that's been put forward here, and I thank the town manager and the staff for the work on it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Not to prolong the meeting, I do want to make a point to thank our municipal staff. So I'm the end result of the budget. They do 75, 80% of the work before it gets to me. I'm the mean guy that says no and says maybe next year and things like that. But I would say overall it is a lean budget, especially on the capital equipment side. We've done more equipment in past years. We will have to invest in vehicles and things like that. We have a little bit, but not a ton in this budget. But I want to emphasize a lot of the work and credit in any year goes to the town staff. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor? 6 yeas. Motion to adjourn? By Counselor Sims, second. Second by Counselor LaVoy. All those in favor? 6 yeas. Thank you very much.